You have seen the sign. You just haven't named it. The moment when you come home and the apartment is quiet, completely quiet. And you know, no one is waiting. No one is excited. Not a sound, not a life. That is not a bad life, but it is a different one. And you know that. Today we are talking about what really happens when a person lives alone, with a dog. Not about the romanticized image of the free single life with a loyal companion. But about what really happens in the body, in the brain, in daily experience. And why this one roommate changes more than any human being ever could. I promise you, at the end you will see living alone differently. Fundamentally differently. And I will tell you right away which one thing makes the biggest difference. It surprises almost everyone. But first let us be honest about what living alone really means. Not the Instagram image, not the freedom that everyone praises. Real solitary living. Living alone is the most radical test for a human being in the modern world. No friction, no compromises, no voice that says, you can't do that. But also no warmth that can be asked for. No presence that simply is. You can do whatever you want, but sometimes you just want someone to be there. And exactly in this gap, between freedom and silence, lives the dog. He doesn't fill this gap. He makes it more human. Living alone with a dog is a different discipline. A different way to exist. You are alone, but you are not lonely. That is no small difference. That is the difference between a life that feels empty and one that feels complete. Imagine. Monday, 7 in the morning. You don't want to get up. The alarm rings, you hit snooze. Again, and again. And then you hear it, this quiet scratching at the door, this patient waiting. He doesn't need much. He only needs you. Now. Today. With everything that comes. You get up, not for yourself. For him. And suddenly you are outside. The air is cool, the day has just begun, and you are walking with someone. That sounds like a small thing. It is the difference between a morning that begins and one that does not. Researchers at Stockholm University investigated what people say who live alone. In the group with dogs, significantly more people reported a structured daily routine. Not because the dog has an appointment calendar, but because he needs a rhythm and thus also provides one. Feeding time is feeding time. Walking is walking. Sleeping is sleeping. This rhythm, as banal as it sounds, is the backbone of a healthy everyday life. And for people who live alone, this backbone is often missing. They drift. They lose the beat. The dog brings the beat back, daily, reliably, without discussing it. But that is only the beginning. There is something else that almost everyone completely overlooks here. Living alone can isolate you socially, not because you want it, but because it simply happens. No partner to say, let's go somewhere today. No roommate casually chatting. Only you, and the choice of whether to go out or not. People with dogs do not have this choice. They must go out, daily. And outside, something happens that no therapist can plan and no app can replace. Other dog owners talk to you. Randomly, spontaneously, without a plan. An encounter in the morning, a conversation in the evening, not deep, but human. Not momentous, but real. Not planned, but connecting. And all of this, just because someone wanted to ask, what is your dog's name? That deserves a second of silence. Because what really happens is, you become part of a community, without wanting to, without seeking it. The community of dog owners. One of the oldest informal clubs in the world. You nod, they nod, you smile, they smile, sometimes you stop, sometimes you don't. But you have contact, real, human, physical contact, daily. And that has a measurable effect on loneliness, on depression, on the joy of living. Not theoretically. Actually, measured in studies, experienced by real people. Now comes the thing I promised you right at the beginning. The one thing that surprises almost everyone when they hear about it. It's not about love. It's not about company. It's about touch. People who live alone are often not touched for hours. Sometimes days. That sounds dramatic. It is simply a fact of our time. And touch deprivation is no small thing. It affects the nervous system, mood, the immune system. The dog closes this gap, daily, reliably, without you having to ask. He lies down next to you. He rests his head on your leg. He sleeps on your feet. And your nervous system responds. Cortisol drops, oxytocin rises, the body relaxes. That is no romantic exaggeration. That is biology working for you every day. You breathe deeper. You sleep better. You wake up calmer. Not because life has gotten easier, but because someone is there. Do you remember what I said right at the beginning? The moment when you come home and the apartment is quiet. This image now gets an entirely different answer. Because silence is not the opposite of life. Silence with a dog is a different quality of silence, shared, breathed, warm. And in this silence lies no emptiness anymore, there lies peace. That is the difference. Not loud or quiet, not full or empty. But shared or alone. And shared, with a dog, is always better. You might ask yourself, isn't that too much responsibility when living alone? That is a fair question. And the honest answer is, yes, sometimes it is. On bad days, when you don't want to go out, when you are sick, when nothing works. But exactly then, on exactly those days, the dog is the most important. Because he brings you outside when you don't want to. Because he provides structure when you drift. Because he is there when the day collapses and you just want to be breathed. Living alone with a dog teaches you that care is not a one-way street. You care for him, and he cares for you. Silently, daily, without words. That is no theory. That is what he is doing right now, while you listen to this. Write to us today. When did your dog help you, without knowing it? I mean that seriously. I read every comment. Every story is worth telling. Because all these stories together complete the picture of a life worth living. A life that is not perfect, but shared. Every day. With the best roommate in the world. Go home tonight, and if he is there, sit down with him. Just like that. Without a phone. Without a plan. Just 5 minutes. And then you will know exactly what I was talking about. Without another word.